Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Redevelopment Commission meeting for August 2023. Mr. Hobbs, I'll have you start the meeting.
First item on the agenda, claims approval. Carroll County Fence Company, $3,429.77. Mills Fence Company, $3,104.69 for a total of $6,534.46. So I had a chance to review the claims. Any questions or comments? Entertain a motion to approve. Make a motion to approve. I second. All those in favor? Looks like there's also a lawn request number 2. Is that correct?
Correct.
Need a motion to approve. So moved. Second. All those in favor? Monthly financial review.
Commissioners, a couple things about the Reedy Financial Group report. We didn't feel it was necessary for them to be here today, so I do have a couple things. One, you will note that here coming up in the next couple reports, the new allocation area that was established will be represented on page 4 of the document. That's not yet reflected, and that will. The other thing I wanted to remind you on just a couple things. On the wayfinding and implementation, we did receive $25,000 of the match our investment from the Jefferson County Board of Tourism. That money has entered the system here in the city and will certainly reflect that here in the coming couple months in terms of the financial report. I would also ask if the commission would be okay with moving $200,000 out of our Clifty Drive sidewalk prep fund into 2024. Because of the delay in bidding that work, it would allow us to free up some additional capital in 2023 as necessary. So if, again, we would still commit our full $800,000 that we've committed to that project, but that bid won't be received until late October, correct?
Even later than that.
It may be later than that. So I would just defer our commitment out just to preserve cash. So if it would be a recommendation to be made. If no one has any objections, we would just do that as part of the plan. Okay.
What was that? What was an amount?
$200,000 and to
Split it in half?
split it in half. That's all I have on the financial report, if anybody has any questions.
Old business, requisition project review.
Yeah, so I'm happy to give the quarterly update. Sorry for a little bit of a delay here in that, but thought I'd give you a few strategic highlights of where we are with some of our RDC and READY funding projects. We are expecting READY 2.0, which we've talked about a lot. The Redevelopment Authority and the IEDC have all come up with their sort of strategic outlay and plans. We expect here in the month of September-ish to have a call for projects. As we all know, our Destination Madison projects is our plan to continue on with those. Some of those projects I've listed are like the amphitheater, building the amphitheater structure, potentially bridge illumination, and additional riverfront development opportunities. So those would be some of our top projects, as well as potentially some housing projects as well. So we're continuing to work on that, and we'll continue to keep you updated and others updated within the city. Sunrise Crossing, if you've been up there lately, it's coming along really quick. The traffic light is being installed as we speak and should be operational here in the next 2 weeks. I am happy to report that Five Below opened with great success. They topped expectations and were ranked the number 2 store in the nation for the first 2 weeks of them being open. So as a single standalone store and an under construction shopping center, for them to have that kind of success, they're just really happy about that. And Chelsea Abbott and the team up there has done a really good job, and so we're happy to have them. All stores are hiring now. You'll notice TJ Maxx, Kohl's, and Hobby Lobby all are working with local groups either here or have signs up for their corporate websites for hiring. So all of those are continuing to move forward as expected. TJ Maxx in September, and then Hobby Lobby and Kohl's towards the end of October. So that's where we are with Sunrise Crossing. Habitat for Humanity subdivision is under construction. You'll see that, and that should be done sometime in the month of September. with the opportunity for Habitat to start construction this fall on their first house in that neighborhood. And remind everyone that's a six-unit, six-house a subdivision there on the old state property behind the old state garage off of Lanier Drive. A few things to look ahead to. Housing is continuing to be a topic in the community and will be for quite a while, honestly. We've added 190 units to the mix here coming late 2024, early 2025. It takes time for housing to be built and come online, but we're working hard and looking at opportunities that have been given to us as it relates to the residential TIF options by the state of Indiana, and potentially how we use the allocation areas to our advantage for some housing. Land is certainly the issue, and control of that land, and so we're continuing to work with others to help identify some of those opportunities. We're continuing to work with Main Street on some culinary opportunities, and we'll continue to do that. Birdman will be installed in late September. The art that was a part of the economic development agreement the developers are paying for. It's part of the partnership with the school system, if you remember correctly. Dale Rogers will be back in late September to collaborate with Cub Manufacturing on the actual production, the steel production of the pieces that the developer paid for to be placed throughout the county as a part of that project, as well as to install Birdman. And Dale also will be at the Chautauqua of the Arts with his sculptures this year. So we're excited to have him here in town. And I would expect just to look for a ribbon cutting here towards the end of October, early November for the Sunrise Shops at Sunrise Crossing. We'll do that. We'll start construction on the outbuilding here within the week. They actually are mobilizing today. A couple other ones to highlight. Crystal Beach, the project there is on schedule for a substantial completion May 1. They currently have the main drains in the deep end have been installed, which is the diving well. So that is if you go down there, it's the far western side is where the diving well will be, and those drain lines are in. All the equipment and pumps are in the new basement walls, and waterproofing of the basement is being completed as we speak on that. All critical items, supply chain items and all that have been ordered and are en route or here already. We'll pause on the downtown grocery store and we'll talk about that in a minute. Frank's Drive, if you've been by in the last week, that building's gone up quick. Again, they're on target and our contractor's on target for an end of October completion of those intersection improvements and opening. I mentioned Habitat for Humanity. Oak Hill Park, we're so excited with that. What a transformation that was. If you have not been able to drive up there and see the park and see the investment you made in the quality of life and quality of place for that neighborhood and for the hilltop itself, it's remarkable. It is done. A few punch list items remain, but for the most part, the dog park's all been installed, the playground equipment's installed, the basketball goals are up, it's striped, and cornhole's in place. So everything's in place. Few minor punch items. We'll have to reseed and straw this fall just to get a good strong hold on the grass. But we're excited about that. Mayor had a city council meeting there, and the ribbon cutting was a really well received event. PACE, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Wayfinding, I mentioned earlier, again about the JCVT award. Public art, this is a real exciting support and important piece for our community, quality of place and quality of life initiatives. The Gateway Art Project, we had almost 20 submissions that the committee from the Arts Commission reviewed. We're down to 3 listed there. Those 3 will be in town tomorrow on a tour, a meeting with the mayor, a meeting with several of the Public Arts Commission members, and touring our community as they start to get creative over the next few months and present their final designs for the commission to choose from for the Gateway piece yet later this fall. Ready 2.0 projects, I mentioned those earlier. Our Ready 1.0 projects, the Gateway project. Again, thanks to the commission for your additional support on a little more money there for some contingency items that showed up. But the 421 Gateway project, our bridge approach project, is nearly complete. With the heat over the last 3 weeks or so, the landscape architect asked for us to slow down the installation, but the parking lot is open and the electric EV charger is active today, and we'll look forward to that project being done here in the next couple of weeks. Mulberry Street, as you know, and the art alleyway that you supported is complete. There's a few punch list items left on that that are being manufactured and will be installed here in the next couple weeks. The EV chargers are installed and working, as well as the 2 EV chargers are working and installed at the Main Street lot. So we have now 5 electric vehicle chargers in the downtown area. That's 6 if you include the cotton mill, but 5 city-owned EV chargers.
There's several at Clifty Falls State Park.
Yeah, there's several at Clifty, but in downtown, I think there's 6. Is there more than one? Okay, I'm aware of one, but I'm not sure. But yeah, but from a city perspective, we've now have 5 EV chargers for our residents and tourists. Oh, you have one at the dealership too? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. That's great. The Super Overlook project, as you know, Phase 1 is complete. What they're calling Phase 2 is the terracing, which will take place this fall once the boating season's done. Not enough disruption in the boat ramp and so forth that they are going to wait till the fall to do the terracing on that project. So that should be this fall construction and be complete. As I mentioned in the report, the Ohio Theater and the Marquee project, there was some new structural issues found associated with the Marquee that required some additional professional services for the Friends of the Ohio Theater to engage, and they're doing that. Those drawings should be done here in the next month, and we will go through a public bid process for that facade. It's a little delayed, but rather for them to solve it now than solve it in a change order as a part of a bidding project. So we're looking forward to that. The Madison Hanover Connector Trail project, we've received proposals. How many proposals did we see? 6 proposals for professional services for that project. That committee will be meeting here over the next couple weeks and ultimately select that professional engineering or design firm to lead that project here in the next month. We'll probably be bringing that in September for your approval. And the residences at Sunrise Crossing have submitted their application, and we're anticipating a late fall award on that. Continue to work with them on the design and evolution of that. They've added some brick and additional brick to the building and some other things as we've worked through that. Gaines Park, another park project that we're excited about. The playground equipment's here on site, will be installed and here in a couple weeks, mid-August, and we hope to have the project finished by Labor Day and then have a ribbon cutting for the Broadway High School reunion they have every year in mid-September. So we encourage and invite you all to that as well. And then ultimately, the Madison Main Street Comfort Station, JCBT did award additional dollars for that to match the city's match for those, and we'll do those renovations over the winter when the tourists have left town. So that's a quick update on a number of the projects that we've been working on. Certainly there's lots of economic development opportunity. The railroad is continuing to have success with the transload facility. We just signed at the railroad a fly ash deal with a company to transport fly ash from our transload facilities to the northeastern part of the country. We will truck the fly ash from Clifty Creek to our transload facility and then use a piece of equipment that we just purchased to then transload that process to the cars. It will not go up the incline. These will be trucked up to the transload and then ultimately loaded onto cars. So we're really excited about that, and there's a number of other economic development opportunities that, because of the railroad, we've been engaged with. It's been a very successful year. Road and Rail has continued to invest in Madison. I think now have somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 employees with them here doing car repair and maintenance. And then the construction of the Red Ball line.
Recycling.
Yeah, the red ball line, which will be the recycling operation up there off of Wilson Avenue, has been bid and will be under construction here shortly. The trucks will go up Hanover Hill and around the bypass, yes, for IKEC. So that's a quick update. Like I said, lots of activity, but if there's any questions? Okay.
Moving on to new business.
Yeah, Commission, I'd like to present to you the results of the notice of request for proposals for the disposition of the property at 120 East Second Street. The offering and the notice was issued on June 23rd and July 7th in the Madison Courier. We received no other official requests for the offering sheet. And so the only contract for purchase of real estate that we have for that is from Kurt Rafferty of Rafferty Development LLC for the full asking price of $525,000. I would look to the commission to approve that purchase of real estate to Rafferty Development LLC. Authorize. And authorize the mayor to enter into that
Authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase
agreement.
that we use additional due diligence.
Yep. Thank you.
Invite Nicole up to give a presentation on the Redevelopment Commission's role in PACE and really the impact that PACE has had across the community in a number of ways. I think I mentioned at the last meeting that it's been very successful and it is generating a tremendous return on investment. We're going to be presenting to you today some of the impact that PACE is having in preparation for another request for additional financial support from Redevelopment Commission to the PACE program, so we can have another round this year because of the demand has certainly exceeded the capacity so far. So we'll ask Nicole to give us an update on PACE.
Sure. So I'm just going to start out with just the highlights. So PACE is our matching grant program. The city matches dollar for dollar up to a cap. We have 4 different types of grant opportunities for the citizens or property owners in Madison. It does cover the entire city limits. Our rehabilitation grant is just available downtown, but we just added a new curb appeal grant for the Hilltop in the target area of Pinehurst to kind of simulate that program on the Hilltop. And then our dilapidated structures grant and our dangerous buildings grant are available for the entire city limits. So I'm just going to go over the 2023 highlights, sampling the projects that have been successful, and then show you what's coming up. So in 2023, we had 61 applications submitted, 32 grants were awarded. Of the $485,000 public dollars, 300 of that came from the Redevelopment Commission's allocation. So you kind of see the groupings there. Most projects are downtown. But we are seeing a return of investment of $5.90 for every public dollars spent in the PACE program, and that number is just for 2023. That was increased from $4 last year. So you can see most of our projects, the private matching is mostly in the dilapidated structures because we give a very small amount. To those are typically 6-figure projects, and we only give a cap up to $25,000. So I'm just going to run through some of the projects that have been awarded and finished their PACE programs, just so you can kind of see the impact your dollars are providing to the city. So those 3 are all on West Street. They're former hospital properties. They're all turned back into single-family homes, or I believe this one's going to be an Airbnb. but they had sat dilapidated for several years with the hospital leaving downtown because Trilogy never used them when they acquired the properties from KDH. So these will be back on the tax rolls. This is Fifth Street, a single-family home. Another Fifth Street single-family home. These two are another two from the King Daughter campus that have been renovated. The green one has been turned into a single-family home, and then the black one is going to be a short-term rental. This one just finished. I haven't gotten their final yet, so I don't know the full amount of the private investment, but you can see the change there. And then these two are on East 3rd Street. So that's just a sampling of the projects that have been completed. There's way more on the way. These two are currently under construction on West Street. This is going to be the Child Advocacy Center's headquarters here in Madison. This is one of our dilapidated structures on the hilltop on Strader Street. It's going to be rehabilitated, no more tarp on the roof. And then this one, if you're familiar with, is an unsafe structure that's currently got fencing around it. It's going to be completely renovated. So just to kind of give you a breakdown of the awards, we basically have awarded $100,000, give or take, each round in 2023. So we're anticipating to have another round. We would need an additional $100,000.
In addition to what we covered here with regard to the rehabilitation and preservation of dilapidated and some structures, there's a lot of unsafe structures and nuisance structures across the city that PACE is working very effectively in reversing. We didn't present those here. We just gave you a sampling of what the leveraging impact is with these dollars that are invested in it. Almost a 6-to-1 leverage factor is going to be some of the highest and best use of our dollars, candidly, and what's returning, and that doesn't even include increased assessed values, reduction in crime, overall quality of life, the other ancillary investments the city is making, streets, sidewalks, other infrastructure in the neighborhoods. That's really supporting a renaissance, I think, of our community. So that's why we felt it was compelling to present to you what your dollars are doing, our dollars are doing to work very effectively for the community.
And I would ask too, Nicole, I think one of the great things about this, it's taken a number of vacant structures and had those available now for either rentals and or owner-occupied structures. Can you, which is an important housing component. So this is not only, again, beautifying and building on our community's core, but how many of the current projects are owner-occupied or rentals versus other uses?
I would have to run that number. So when we introduced the scoring mechanisms in 2020, we allocated higher amounts of score to those that are going to be primary use by the owner or applicant. So whether that was their commercial business or their residence, and then it goes down from there. But then rental income is much higher than resale. Resale actually, I think you get 0 points for. So they may still score well, but I would say if I had to guess, maybe 75% are rentals or those primary, ownership.
Well, I think that's a good point, which is the fact that a lot of the structures we're working on are dilapidated and unoccupied, and now we're bringing housing stock, whether it be long-term or short-term, back onto the tax rolls and contributing to the neighborhood revitalization.
Yeah, just for example, the sampling that I gave, there was 7, and only one of those had an occupied structure. The rest were not occupied at the time of their application.
For years, correct.
Decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they've been sitting vacant
Some
for
decades.
years. Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah, and as we talk about housing in the community, I mean, this is a great strategy for, it's going to be a multi-prong approach, but the PACE program is helping bring housing on the market in the community, either for rentals or owner-occupied, that ultimately were vacant for years, as you said, Commissioner.
doesn't require modification of the redevelopment plan, it just requires an appropriation of more funds. Yes.
So part of the recommendation today was an additional moving some of that money out to 2024 will give us the opportunity to look at this additional request at the next meeting in September. Reedy's going to review some things, and we got to review a few other items to make sure that we've got a number of projects. We just want to make sure we can cash flow what we need to cash flow this year. But it looks very strong. We've got a great year, as you also know. Revenue projections are higher and are coming in higher than we had budgeted. So, given the success of this program, the importance of the program to the community and to strategy, I think it's certainly worth considering.
So today was just information.
And I'm happy to answer any questions while you have me here. Thank you.
Good presentation, thank you. Not a whole lot of updates today. Tonight is National Night Out, and we are having a Board of Public Works meeting on Friday to take up some business. We've been spending a lot of time on infrastructure improvements. Recently, we passed an updated ordinance that essentially reformed provisions from the 1960s relative to how how utility work happens in our streets and how that utility work is repaired, inspected, and repaired, and that is going to reverse a lot of damage to the roads over time, but it's also going to prevent a lot of future damage and protect the investment, multi-million-dollar investment that we're making in roads and sidewalks. We have a lot of street work that's about to happen. There's the state, the city, the county are all doing infrastructure work across the community all at the same time. And we have a major water improvement project underway. So we've been spending a lot of our time on those matters plus housing. Just to reemphasize what Tony had said earlier, housing really is one of the most important things that we're going to be working on for the next 5 to 10 years. It's been over a quarter century since any major housing development's been done across our community, and we are, like every other community that I'm aware of in the state, we are at a crisis mode with not having enough housing inventory. So that's going to be our focus. The balance of the year is continuing to work on the projects that we've been working on for 3 years and positioning ourselves to be successful with the Ready 2.0 grant process to continue the Destination Madison plan. But there's a lot of great work happening all across the city enterprise in parks and utilities, streets, building and planning, technology upgrades, and Redevelopment Commission is a really important component of making these plans happen. So appreciate all your help, and we'll keep you informed as we go along.
Yeah, and I think the mayor, housing is an important thing, and I think for us, the commission to think about as we look strategically at this, it's going to require the commission's involvement. Affordability of housing is the key. You look at interest rates, affordability of housing 2 years ago was a problem. It's gotten only worse. And so as we move into looking at solutions, it's likely going to require the commission's input and assistance as we look into developing affordable housing in the community. But as we know, the study shows we need housing at all levels of the community. Some of those will be taken care of by market rate factors. And we have some of that being developed now, but for the affordable side, it's going to continue to require the commission's involvement, I believe.
For sure. Commission, thank you. See you in September.